and bodies of water separately. That'll just be easier to kind of not confuse them, and also just in explaining. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this is the Arabian Peninsula right here, and then I'm going to kind of move from left to right across these countries so that you can kind of remember which is which. So over here you don't have to remember Egypt, but it's easy to find it. That'll help you be able to identify what is the Red Sea and everything. So, and I always, this may sound funny, and this is not meaning to be disrespectful at all or anything, but I always can tell, like I see Egypt and there's this strange shaped like piece of land. It kind of makes me think of a chicken wing, honestly. So I just look for the little chicken wing, and that's Egypt right there. So, so we have Egypt here. And like I said, the Israelites fled from Egypt to the land of Israel. So we got Israel right here. And then we've got Lebanon just north of Israel. Remember that Lebanon had bombed Israel, and Israel had bombed Lebanon. Maybe you can think of IL, like Israel and Lebanon, like ill, just because like the region is in such turmoil, like ill. Maybe you want to think about it that way. Also, we have Syria right here. And right now, Syria is the country in the Arab Spring that is still facing lots of atrocities under the President Assad. There's just been massacres there. You can kind of think, maybe learn to recognize Syria. And I think of like Pac-Man because it kind of has this little opening right here, and it looks like it's eating another country. So you get Syria eating Lebanon. Maybe you can think about it in that way and just say it over and over, like, okay, which country is Syria eating? Lebanon. And that'll also make you kind of recognize this. And then you can all, of course, see Israel just because it's right across from Egypt. And then right south of that is Jordan. And I kind of think of it looking like a really strange shaped J, if you, like backwards, strange shaped J. I don't know, like that's just kind of how I think about it, because it sort of looks like a backwards J in a way. And that just helps me remember Jordan. And then I'm able to find Iraq because I think of like the war where Iraq invaded Kuwait to get oil, and seriously, there's that one piece of land being separated by the Suez Canal of Egypt, and it kind of looks like a little chicken wing to me. So when I see that chicken wing, it's easy for me to identify Egypt. So maybe if you see that, you're like, oh, that's Egypt. Next, something important to remember is that, like I said before, that this is the map of the Middle East, and I'm just going to go over the countries first, and then I'll go over the cities and the waterways. Starting to the west, you've got Egypt over here. I kind of remember it partly because it has this little chicken wing looking section right here. I mean, I know that's silly, but every time I see it, I just, oh, there's Egypt. And as said before, think about the Israelites going from Egypt to the promised land of Israel. So we have Egypt here, and right beside it, this little green country right here is Israel. Right above it is Lebanon. If you follow any history, remember like in 2006 that they bombed Israel, and Israel had returned fire, and there was this huge conflict in that area. But another way is you might just have to memorize it. I look for Syria. Syria is like Pac-Man. It looks like it kind of has this little mouth right here. So it looks like it's eating Lebanon. So you say Syria is eating Lebanon. And you just keep saying that over and over again. Syria is eating Lebanon. And you'll maybe recall right now in the Arab Spring that Syria is still facing mass atrocities. So maybe that'll kind of help you remember this country eating this country idea. Maybe you'll associate that in your mind as you're studying. So Syria eating Lebanon, Israelites flying to or fleeing Egypt to Israel. Next, there's the country of Jordan right here. And I kind of make it kind of seems like a backward, funny looking J. So if you just think about it in that way, it's a backward, funny looking J for Jordan. That'll help you remember Jordan. Then below it is Saudi Arabia. It's this large country right here. This whole peninsula is referred to as the Arabian Peninsula. So for me, that's easy to find Saudi Arabia because it makes it the majority of this peninsula. At the bottom is Yemen and Oman, and I just use an acronym. I say YO, so it's YO. And then this little kangaroo-shaped country right here is the United Arab Emirates. And maybe you can remember it's kind of funny looking, and maybe the title of this country, the name of this country is a little unfamiliar or different from all the other countries' names. So the United Arab Emirates is this funny kangaroo-looking country. Next, we have Iraq. And I always remember Iraq because Iraq invaded Kuwait in order to get oil and access to the Persian Gulf here. And Kuwait's this little country right here. So I might think of cute little Kuwait right here is just a way to remember it. So Iraq invaded Kuwait. It's also the country that we invaded in 2003. So it's important for you to remember as an American citizen or someone who's over here in the United States. Is just something in current events, especially since you're in contemporary world right now. And then just right beside Iraq is the country of Iran or Iran. And I think of them because they're similar names: Iraq, Iran, or Iraq, Iran. And then, okay, after Iran, we've got Afghanistan and Pakistan and India. I always can find India because it's pretty distinct in its shape and size. So if I can find India, that helps me find Pakistan because Pakistan used to be part of India but separated from India because this country is largely Muslim while India is largely Hindu. So Pakistan decided to form its own country. So you can kind of find them like that. Then also we have Afghanistan. We have these two Stan countries side by side, or one above the other. So you have Afghanistan above Pakistan. And if you want to remember that we have the war in Afghanistan and dealing with Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, like them being side by side, maybe that would help you out. Another country that I think is the last country that you have to know for this map is Turkey, which is way over here. And I know I said I was going to do countries first and then waterways, but to find Turkey, for one, I can look at a map, look at your other maps to help reference and see where these countries are in relation to one another. That will help you kind of see how everything fits together. But I remember Turkey because for one has a unique shape, and then above it is the Black Sea. And instead of Black Forest ham, I think of Black Forest ham. Think of Black Forest Turkey. I say Black Forest Turkey. So you have the Black Sea and Turkey. So that's one way to remember it. And just as a note, this is the Mediterranean Sea right here. And you can see that as if you look at another map, and you can see how the Mediterranean stretches all the way over here to above Egypt and to Israel. Next, we'll do the bodies of water. Right here we have the Red Sea. Think about the Israelites crossing the Red Sea to get into Israel. So that's the Red Sea. Then we have, like I already just did, the Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea. For the Caspian Sea, well, I remember Iran. It used to be Persia. Persia used to be right here. So, and actually people from Afghanistan and Iran, typically they are Persian. So I remember Prince of Persia, Prince Caspian. That's how I do it. Prince of Persia, Prince Caspian. And then below Iran, which used to be Persia, is the Persian Gulf. So that makes sense that this is the Persian Gulf. And then, since this is the Arabian Peninsula, Persia or Iran got something. So now, of course, the Arabian Peninsula needs something too. So they have the Arabian Sea right here. So you can see it kind of opens up into this little body of water right here. So this is the Arabian Sea. And then Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean stretches way down south, but you can just label it right in this little section right here and think about it. There's India right here. Ocean is bigger than a sea, so you put the Arabian Sea up here and the Indian Ocean down here. Also, we have the Indus River, and it's right here in Pakistan. Maybe, and it's kind of darker, it's like highlighted slightly. So this is the Indus River, and maybe you can think of like Pakistan and Indus River and do like P.I., like Pi, like the Life of Pi, that new movie that's coming out. So you have that for Pakistan, for the Indus River. Then also you have the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and they are in Iraq, and they're actually much better highlighted on other maps. So maybe you want to take one of your other maps that are like Southeast Asia, or like one of the Asian maps that it'll highlight them better and you can see them and kind of compare, so you can see where you need to write your labels. So, and actually they say it in opposite order of what we typically say. Usually people say Tigris and Euphrates, but it actually from left to right is the Euphrates and then the Tigris. And they kind of like right here where the Q is in Iraq, that's kind of where the rivers kind of bend together right there. They don't actually touch, but they bend toward each other. And that's good to help find the city of Baghdad, because right where those rivers almost touch, but right on the Tigris River is Baghdad. So you can easily just put that there. Think about the surge in Baghdad in 2003. It's in Iraq. These are like what countries have we been heavily involved in recently as the United States? So that'll help you remember that. By Beirut, Lebanon, it's right in the middle on the coast. And these countries right over here are small enough that if you just put the cities kind of in the middle, it'll help you get them, because you'll be close enough probably to get the points for that. So Lebanon, right in the middle on the coast, is Beirut, and it's kind of spelled differently than what you might expect. Just say it over and over. Just say Beirut, Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon, and that'll help put it in your mind much more easily. So if, like, for me, it makes it more familiar if I just hear it over and over. So in Israel, we've got Jerusalem, and if you can see, let me see if I can zoom in to the map over here. There we go. Let me tilt this a little bit. Okay. You can see Jerusalem, there's this red border right here, because these are the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. So you don't have to know that, but in this red border, it's kind of shaped like a lima bean if you look at it, and actually Jerusalem is right in the middle of the crook of the bean. So you just put Jerusalem right there, and then right across from it is Tel Aviv. And I kind of think of maybe Tel Aviv, it makes me think of TV, and they're trying to get signals way out in the Mediterranean. But however you want to remember that, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is right in the lima bean, and Tel Aviv is right across from it on the coast. And once again, we've got Beirut, Lebanon, right in the middle of the coast. So just keep saying that, Beirut, Lebanon. And of course, Lebanon is being eaten by Syria, just as a review. Well, right here we have Amman, Jordan. So remember, Jordan's the weird shaped J, backwards J. And what you do is you see like the border over here is making an arrow sort of to right where Amman is. So between the point of this arrow and the other side of the country, right in the middle of that line is Amman. So we put Amman, Jordan right there. And I kind of say a man named Jordan. That helps me remember it. So a man named Jordan. A man named Jordan. That'll help me. But don't confuse it with Oman, the country that starts with an O. So a man named Jordan. A man. So Amman. So we have those particular cities. We can move over here to Iran. Let me turn the map a little bit so you guys can see better. So remember, you have the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea dips down right here if you have your maps. And it's right below that dip. And also, if you look right south of the Caspian Sea, you see these rivers kind of form a sort of circle right there around Tehran. So Tehran is in Iran, so you can kind of say those together. Tehran, Iran. Tehran, Iran, because they sound very similar. And then we can go over here to Pakistan. And as you can see, Pakistan forms a sort of triangle on the coast. And right where it forms sort of a point, that's where you put Karachi. So Karachi, Pakistan. And maybe you want to say like, they both have a K in it. Pakistan and Karachi, K and K. Or if you have some way to say like PK or whatever, any way to remember it like that, but Karachi, Pakistan. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see this whole map better. The next cities that you'll need to know are New Delhi, India, and I can kind of, actually I'll zoom into India a little bit and turn the map. New Delhi, India, you see it's along these two rivers right here, and they're parallel to one another. And what I think of is you want to be first in line to get to the Delhi. So you put Delhi along the middle of the first C-shaped river. So right in the middle of the first one. So you want to be first in line to get to the Delhi. So it's New Delhi, India. And once again, you can say that over and over, New Delhi, India, New Delhi, India. Then down here, we have Bombay or Mumbai, whichever you want to remember. And I typically use Mumbai or Bombay. Like both of them work, but Bombay works better for what this particular example, because you see you have this dip of water that's going into India, and I just say Bombay is by the bay. And it's right at the bottom of this bay, right where it kind of forms these little teeth marks along the coast. So you could say the same thing. You could say Mumbai is by the bay, but I typically just say Bombay is by the bay. Well, let's move over to the last two cities that you have to know. And these are in Saudi Arabia. And I'll have to zoom in for these, but I'll just talk about them a little bit first. We have Mecca right here, and you see where the land on this coast dips out the most. It's right by that dip. But also, if you get closer, you'll notice that it's at the very end of a little river. So you see this river kind of goes into the coast toward Mecca. Just find this big dip and then the little river on it, and then right at the end of it is Mecca. And remember, Mecca is like the holy city of Islam. So Muslims are praying toward Mecca. So that's where Mecca is. Then over here is Riyadh. And to find it, well, for one, you have this little country right here, and right across from it is Riyadh. But what you do is you find these two little rivers that sort of form a V shape, as you can see right here. It's like a little V. And Riyadh's right in the middle of this little crook of the top part of the V. So that's how you find Riyadh. Easy. Just use the geography, really, just to find these cities and be able to label them. Well, I believe that is the map of the Middle East. You can replay this video over and over again if you would like to see that. Oh yeah, the Suez Canal. I think I mentioned that right at first. So yeah, if you remember anything about the Suez Canal conflict, and because it's a connection between the Mediterranean and Red Sea, which in turn is a connection to the Indian Ocean and the rest of the world, the Suez Canal, like for me, I just associate that with Egypt automatically. Well, I think that's it for this particular map. Just keep reviewing it.